Hello. This video is a follow-on from an older one. It's not a review, nor an analysis or critique or a playing. It's an appeal to please play Totally Accurate Battlegrounds, the only battle royale that matters. Now, is today's title clickbait? Well, that depends on whether something ceases to be clickbait when it also happens to be true. I mean, sure, there is Tetris 99, so I should say the only traditional battle royale that matters, but look, the point of this video is to get you to play this game. It's free and it's good, so there's not much of a barrier to entry. But for those who need a little more convincing, I have some gameplay I want to show off and a superlative claim I need to back up. I'll quickly explain Tabga, or Tab G if you're posh. It's a fast-paced, cartoon-style battle royale with an absurd range of weapons, unwieldy but intuitive physics-based movement and combat, and it takes place on a map with very strange and often intricate zones. It uses a familiar formula, but trims a lot of the fat while elevating the elements of battle royale that I find the most enjoyable and just being fun besides. It was released as an April Fool's gag in 2018 with a limited free window, but it launched with horrendous server issues which made for a poor first impression. After an initial wave, the game was wiped out, but has since been buoyed by a small and steadfast community of players. Alongside this, the developers kept refining the game for the eventual free-to-play release, which is where it exists now. So it went from free to paid to free-to-play, along the way experimenting with different maps, round speeds, weaponry balances, and new features.
I am right.
It's only recently that content updates have ceased, with only bug patches and anti-cheat support going forward. It's unfortunate, but still, 4 years. This is the longest supported April Fool's joke since Logan Paul, and unlike him, it brings some light into the world. Plus, I think that amount of effort and care for something that could so easily have been fobbed off after a lackluster reception deserves respect. This is a joke with some passion behind it, and that's reason number one why this is the only battle royale that matters. I'd say the biggest improvement the game has seen is the ability to play it. Connectivity issues have been extremely rare, and for the last few weeks, no matter what time, any day of the week, I've been able to get into a match. At least on US solo and squad queues. Oh yeah, this game has queues now. I guess I'm British, so I approve. Then there are the physics, or more importantly, what they do for the gameplay. One of the most common complaints I've heard from people who don't like Battle Royale, and one I can understand, is that many deaths come from someone half a lifetime away, which isn't fun. While long-range shooting isn't impossible, the fiddliness and actual tangibility of the weapons makes it far trickier. This makes long-range kills feel that bit more earned, and takes some of the sting out of being on the receiving end. But more importantly, it naturally pulls players towards flailing it out at close to medium range, which is where the most intense, enjoyable encounters tend to take place. Alongside this, one of my personal weaknesses is spotting. I am an elite ambush victim, but in this game, everyone is a bright blue cartoon man. Stealth is possible, but you have to be a lot more active about it. Tabga naturally pulls you towards its very enjoyable combat. So there's another reason. Just like when you pick the right place for a night out, you'll get a good, wobbly fight out of it. Next up is the new map. All of my complaints about the old one have been fixed. It's perfect. Neither too big nor too small. The dead space between landmarks has been severely cut down, with rolling elevation and sightlines to keep encounters interesting no matter where you are. You near enough always have something to take advantage of or keep an eye on. Plus, it's wonderfully spaced out so that at near enough any spot, you'll be able to see 1 or 2 landmarks which can be approached from near enough any angle. In a lot of battle royales I've played, there's a big boring blank space both mentally and physically between making a decision and arriving at it. You decide to head somewhere on the map and have minutes of somewhat tense, but empty wandering. Tabga puts the best of both worlds into a single map. This is bolstered by there being launch pads dotted around, as well as new launch pad grenades and other traversal options.
Oh, no! Oh!
So a player can relocate very quickly at the cost of advertising their arrival. I love this, it adds new dimensions to travel and considerations to make. maybe having the player risk looting a little longer as the walls close in because they may be able to get to a launch pad in time. Do they spend that grenade in hopes of getting a little more loot or hold onto it in case they need a quick escape? Also, they finally remembered to park enough cars and leave enough bikes around for us to nick, increasing the net happiness in the world. Plus, they made the vehicles actually corporeal, so they do literally matter. Overall, navigation is fun. It's distilled down to its essence of short and long-term decision-making. Choices are constantly presented to the player. The more built-up areas retain all of the qualities I praised them for, and all I can really say is that they've been honed in on. Intricate vertical CQB arenas which tickle my FPS platforming monkey brain, lending plenty of opportunities for ambushes, escapes, cover, and means to flank, and just the joy of jumping around. It almost feels like you can make any weapon work in any space if you just take advantage of the game's insane mobility, which creates an entirely unique, comedic, but really fun rhythm of combat where battles can either be over in a moment or thread through environments in a cat and mouse fashion. Poor aim can be made up for with secondary skills and quick thinking. It's another reason why this game is the only one. Nah, fuck that. And speaking of mobility, how about moving on after death? One of the great changes has been that every player gets 2 lives up until the final stages of a match. A great way to get around the game's lower player count and keep the mood light. Upon dying, you play a quick round of Race the Sun, a game famously featured on Snake's Game Gander, and depending on how well you do, you'll either get a curse or a blessing. Which brings me to loot. First up, loot distribution has been overhauled. No matter where you go, you're likely to at least find a gun, with more built-up areas being gear bonanzas. A death and a respawn is obviously a setback, but you still have a chance of catching back up. Alongside that, ammo types have been streamlined, so you will near enough always have a fighting chance of fighting back. If this game does have a flaw, and honestly, it has a few, but this video is obviously biased in its favour, it's that the melee weapons are sort of busted. I remember them being good, but now they feel like instant wins if you can close the gap. But I still love them because while several have been removed, those which remain now have movement-based secondary attacks which give you even more ways to traverse the map and make the aforementioned problem even worse, and it's fucking great. Armor is out, and curses and blessings are in. As far as I'm aware, curses can only be earned by doing poorly in the Race the Sun minigame, and they are pretty inventive and respectably infuriating, going from things like simulated lag to an inability to stop firing, even when you're downed. That's why you're down, punch down, I got him down! I fucking downed him! To being twice the size of an ordinary player. Blessings are the opposite. They're buffs earned from a good race against their son, or found dotted around the map. These have a wider variety, though with that are some dull ones like simply better weapon handling or more health. But there are also gimmick abilities with trade-offs, or powerful new ones which change how you play, and, my old favourite, more mobility options. The reason I said, as far as I know, in regards to gaining curses, is because this game has some ultra rare stuff. In my 80 hours of playtime, I'm still occasionally finding new toys to play with, which keeps the novelty alive. I hope there's something like a grenade or a spellbook which curses people that I just haven't happened upon yet. Why does all this matter? Well, besides the sense of discovery keeping the game feeling evergreen in my head, the way a player can progress over the course of a round is just far more interesting. In many BRs I've played, better gear translates to simply more raw power or perhaps greater versatility, more ranges you can fight at and be effective in. Tabga goes from slapstick to shonen. 2 geared up players can wind up with some wild abilities in their arsenal. Like, hey, get a blessing to regain some health on a full reload? That pairs well with a pair of flintlocks. I love the smell of gunpowder. You can get some ridiculous combos going if you just think outside the box a little. How about getting faster and stronger on every kill? Now, this is what I call momentum. Okay, this is just busted. This book tells me where the nearest player is. They're meant to be unknown. Pentuple jump and a rocket launcher? It's a shame this weapon is shit. Despite all of this, you can near enough always be brought down by a well-aimed burst or a clever play, which is a really fantastic balance that the game hits, and where the physics kind of come back around, flopping into place. Every battle feels like you're trying to create and seize upon an opportunity in a palpable way. It feels great to be David or Goliath, even if Goliath is cursed by this game's logic. I hope I never discover everything that's in here. I never know what I'll wind up with and what I'll go up against. A feeling few games can capture, and one that's worth the occasional one-sided battle. One last feature I have to mention are the gimmick rounds, another incredibly rare event. I sort of wish they were slightly more common, though that may take away from them. They have been mundane in my experience, you know, shotguns only, pistols, snipers, but I once had a spellbooks only round where, as it says, all we could use were the new spellbooks to deal damage. It was great. And again, this all adds to the feeling of surprise and novelty. You never know when there'll be a fun upset to a standard game. Anyway, all of this is why, if you catch me feeling like making particularly lofty and unquantifiable statements, I would tell you that totally accurate Battlegrounds is the only Battle Royale that matters. And for the low price of free, you can see if it brings you some of the same joy that it's brought to me. It's not like last time where I was rushing the video out before it got a price tag. If anything, I'm too late this time around. Now, however, it is free indefinitely, and hopefully playable for just as long. This has been Tehsnakerer. Yakuza 0 is still incoming. I want to get it right because it deserves it. I also started running an ex-Commanderless campaign on Sundays on Twitch, with the VODs going on my side channel. So, I hope all of you have a good day, and hey, maybe you can get a few rounds in. They're nice and quick and fun, and I don't know how to end this video.